All right, testing. Let's see. All right, we're back with another episode of Wagner Nose, the world. Tentatively titled Wagner Nose right now, but I'm back again. I promise I'll do this weekly. I am going to do it weekly. I'm just having so much fun doing it as well, so I'm excited to go on with what's the news in the week of gaming, and just not gaming in general, the world as well. I'm going to talk about worldly topics as well. It's not going to be it's not going to be solely focused on gaming, but there's a lot of stuff happening in video games, and surprisingly enough, I keep finding new things that are just kind of getting out of hand in the gaming industry. Of course, you see this picture here, you know I'm going to talk about Stellar Blade. Stellar Blade has its own controversy. Some people saying that Stellar Blade possibly sold out, which is kind of shocking to see actually happen. I know a lot of other people are kind of suspicious about whenever we see these certain groups of people infiltrate or get a job at a certain company, we immediately think a whole company has sold out. In some cases, that is truly the case. And I think with Stellar Blade Shift Up, the developer of Stellar Blade, hiring certain people, I can't blame the gamers thinking, hey, something is suspicious here. So that's going to be one of our first topics. After that, we got to talk about what's happening with Wolverine. Wolverine is becoming shockingly an example of what not to do when you're producing a highly testosterone character like Logan from the X-Men. And I think that's what people are seeing, what's happening with the overall drama around Wolverine, because it doesn't feel like we have a Wolverine character to play. It feels like we have someone cosplaying Wolverine, or someone maybe putting a fake skin suit of Wolverine in a Brokeback Mountain type of setting. And I think that's what people are feeling with a lot of these video games coming out, where we're getting games that are skin suiting some sort of I guess LGBTQ drama. And I think that's what people feel with Wolverine. Like, who's writing this Wolverine game, and more than anything, who's making these character designs? And I think that's the thing we see people complaining about the Wolverine drama. Of course, we're going to talk about the GTA 6 leaks. That has to go back. Even though I made a video about it, I gotta talk about it. It's growing and growing, the controversy. And of course, like I predicted for my video, the person that's releasing these leaks wants $100,000 per leak now. And I think that's just what we see. And the source of the leak is telling of where we're getting this demand from. And I think that's what a lot of people are talking about nowadays with the GTA 6 leaks. Of course, we're going to talk about what's going on with Naughty Dog, Insomniac. It seems like people are getting frustrated at Sony with Naughty Dog in general, waiting 10 years per game. And I think that's just unsustainable in the video gaming industry. We can't wait 10 years for a game to come out, a sequel that is. And I think that's what people are feeling with so much of the content coming out nowadays, where we have to wait so long for something that doesn't really feel like it has to have that wait. I think we're getting these long development cycles, and it's messing up with the gamers, what they like about certain games. And I think Naughty Dog is kind of lost in the sauce, because they've been making a game for 10 years, and that trend of making kind of these DEI games has already passed. So what they're making is so outdated, and I think that is what we're seeing the frustration with Sony. After that, we're going to talk about some random stuff. India, we have simulators. People are putting out some cool AI content. We're going to go over that. We have the Indian simulator. We have the Nigeria simulator. I want to look at those videos. We're going to go over some cases. It's a controversial case. I'm going to just talk about it a little bit near the end of the show. That's the Lindsay Clancy case, which is kind of a weird one, because people are acting weird around it. Something that should be so obvious is not so obvious in these modern times. And it just kind of shows you, we're always talking about the state of the gaming industry. The gaming industry is just a microcosm of what's happening in society today. So if you look at what's happening with these cases, you can look at I think there's a case in Houston. I forget that case in general, but it's the stabbing case that student stabbed some white kid in some track meet. That case, you have all these crazy dramatic cases that are happening that should be obvious but are not obvious now. I'll talk about why that might be the case, but I think now we just have a culture and society that doesn't know how to deal with with justice, or I would have to say that's what we're seeing right now. People have a problem with justice, and I think that's why we see this morally gray ambiguousness that kind of ladens the gaming industry, especially when it comes to the commentary, when it comes to the games themselves and their story. We just wonder, okay, somehow we just lost the hero's journey, and I think that's what we see with this Lindsay Clancy case, where we're just lost in the anti-hero. We went far away from the anti-hero. Now we're just like, hey, we want someone evil. We want the evil to win. And I think that's what we're seeing playing out. And people are finally seeing there's really a problem in society that needs to be addressed. But we're going to start. We have a lot of topics, and we got to start with our first topic. Before that, let's go and see what the comments are. Stellar Blade, another peak example. What's going on? Public equals bad. What's up, Tuwani4290? I remember you, actually. You dropped by in some other live chats. Thank you for joining. Yes, I think that's exactly it. That's what we see with our first topic here. If you don't know what I'm talking about, talk about Stellar Blade Shift Up, one of their premier titles of the past few years that kind of shifted the gaming industry, shifted it so much that a lot of people that hated any kind of beautifying factors for a lot of lead characters in the gaming industry had to step back and kind of hold their tongue, because the gamers resoundingly resonated with the first Stellar Blade game, and so much so it made the Shift Up, the developer, a $1 billion company. And with that billions of dollars, they kind of dived head first with the sequel. And this is what you see here, some of the promotional material for that sequel, Stellar Blade Blood Rain. And I think this promotional material is what is at the source of the current controversy. I know people are going to say, what are you talking about? It has nothing to do with the promotional material. They just hired someone from a DEI department to run their communications department. And that is the controversy we're seeing right now. But the reason they're hiring someone from an American DEI background, they're doing it because of controversy around their AI releases. Something that was mundane and innocuous in Korea, because Korea has accepted the role of AI in society, but it's kind of been a tough sell in America, where we have so much anti-data centers, anti-anything AI, art, anything. Of course, this is not coming from the consumer. This is coming from the people that are about to lose their jobs. And I think that's the thing that we're seeing. The hostility towards AI bared its fangs against Shift Up, the developer, so much so they had to look for an American communications manager. And that's exactly what we're seeing happening right now with Stellar Blade and Shift Up. They had to go out and get someone that understands the American taste. And unfortunately for them, in that market of ideas, market of employees to go from, you're going to go strictly to DEI candidates that worked in that sector. And that's what they grabbed from. And I think that's the unfortunate thing that we're seeing happening right now. And gamers are coming out and they're letting their voices be heard. And I think that's a good thing. We got to let these companies know we're not going to stand for these sort of these baseless standards that we see in America in the Western development space, where we have these people come in that don't care about video games. They're there to pollute and manipulate the game industry itself towards a political direction. And I think that's what people have a problem with these hiring practices. And that's why we see kind of this backlash from the gaming audience, because we know where this leads. It leads to a degradation of the quality of the games, the characters, and the looks and appeals of those games. And I think that's what people are feeling with this recent hiring practice that happened at Shift Up, where they actually hired someone with a DEI background. Someone, his name specifically is Jerome Benzadon. Hopefully I said that right. But if you look at his background, look at his resume, you look at him talking about himself just from a few weeks ago, he's from the ESG DEI background. He had it prominently in his overall his email descriptions of himself, his LinkedIn descriptions of himself, and everything around his Twitter. He was deeply tied into the ESG mob that we've seen kind of take over the gaming industry these past few years, where everything was dictated how to make a game and what color a game should be, what diversity elements a game should have. And I think that's the thing gamers are extremely wary of in this current day environment, where we're looking at these games that we once loved kind of turn into a diversity slop soup, where it's about representative politics rather than the coolness of just making a game that's fun for the entertainment factor. And I think that's what people are feeling right now when it comes to this standard, because we've seen good studios turn bad just based solely on the people that they hire based on these topics. I think we've seen it so much so that we look at game dev teams from before in the past and we go, hey, what happened to that team? And you automatically know what happened. They hired someone in HR, marketing, communications, and these people took over the narrative of the game from the developer themselves. And I think that's the thing people are feeling with Stellar Blade. Like, okay, you have one communications manager. That may not be anything big at all, but ultimately it will lead to bigger things. You're going to have an American marketing manager, and then you have American HR manager, and that HR manager is only going to hire people that have the same ideology or thought processes as them. And I think that's the thing people are hanging on. This is one hire. It's not going to have that much damage, but it's going to lead to more hires, specifically because it doesn't have damage. And I think that's the dangerous thing. They're going to say, hey, we hired a DEI person. He handled the communications okay. And I think you can see that from his background. He wasn't extremely talkative, this communications manager. He basically said he liked Concord when he was working with Concord. He liked every DEI game that came out because his company was working with that game. And it's just like, okay, I can see that. It's not really a big problem to me, but I think it's just representative of what we see with these corporations and this corporate mindset. This is the seed. This is the seedling to worse things in the gaming industry. And you can see this with him even having his pronouns in his bio. It's just like, okay, this guy is the quintessential archetype of what we don't want to see in the gaming industry. Someone that has no passion for the gaming industry. There's someone that has just maybe in general an idea of how to shape the gaming industry into one way where the gamers are simply not going to be abiding to. And I think that is the thing that we see. And it's just that one seedling that is going to make the whole batch rotten. And I think that is the thing I'm feeling from this play. I'm like, dang, they really, even Shift Up is going to get into this situation. And ultimately, it goes back to what happened to Shift Up in the past. It goes back to how they became a $1 billion company. And the only way you can become a $1 billion company in this day and age within society today is by becoming a public company. And that is the unfortunate thing. If you want to become a billionaire, you're going to have to lose control of the thing that you probably cherish the most. And that's what we're seeing with the CEO, Kim Hyung Tae. He kind of sold out in general. He went public with his video game company on the stock market. And of course, you're going to get investors. And this is the exact same thing that happened in the gaming industry way beforehand, where we saw what happened with the investors that came in and took over many studios and kind of revamped those studios to be more of a reflection of their ideological trend. And I think that's the thing a lot of people are seeing. We know how DEI spread. Maybe if you did not know, it spread through these gigantic investment firms. You can just look at BlackRock, Vanguard. These are the $10 trillion investment firms that hold the majority of stock for a lot of companies in the U.S. stock market and even abroad, Japan, as well as Korea, where these companies are publicly traded. These companies come in, they buy a large majority of the stock. They put influencing members of the board that have their same ideology, and your company eventually starts changing. You start eventually hiring HR, marketing, staff that are in line with the board of directors. And I think that's what we see happening with Shift Up. They kind of sold out, and I already knew this would happen. Once they did sell out, I was worried about this. I was like, this is how they get every company. This is the end if they do become a public company. And I think a lot of people felt that as well, but they wanted to ignore it. We wanted to see a great game. We want to see a great company make $1 billion, get the reward of making a good game with Stellar Blade. And I think that's what we wanted. Greetings, Agents of Chaos. Nice to see you back. Matthew Sennett, nice to see you. Not Found 625, welcome to the live stream. Yeah, I think you guys are right. I don't think it's going to get a full DEI treatment this game, but I think the seeding is there, and I think gamers should protest right now before it's too late. So I'm still going to get Stellar Blade, Blood Rain, I'm going to support them. But once I see any inkling of them backing down, I'm going to take that as a sign that they capitulated, that they gave in to the demands of these organizations, of these the American DEI organizations that want to see these games kind of torn down and stripped away of all their quality. So I'm still going to give them my support, but my eyes are open. I know what's going to happen eventually. Eventually the stock bubbles are going to burst in Korea. It's already kind of bursting. Their stock is going to go down. They're going to lose more control of their company. They're going to have to make changes, especially if maybe some random game doesn't do as well. Maybe Stellar Blade Blood Rain doesn't sell as much as the first Stellar Blade, but it's still successful, but it's not successful enough. And the board of directors say, hey, you're not successful enough. And with these public companies, you have to just be unendingly successful than your previous property that you release. So they're going to be in a tight position where they're going to be forced to change, and that change is going to destroy the company, and they're going to be sold and stripped for parts after they go bankrupt. And that is just kind of the capitalist way, not to say I would say the corporatist. I wouldn't say capitalist. This is more of the corporatist way of doing business. And I think that is a situation we're seeing playing out. And a lot of people are just not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. I'm like, dang, this is not what I wanted to see in the gaming industry. I wanted to see a sort of an industry, at least the Korean gaming industry. I wanted to see them actually evolve without the influence of American companies. But once you go public, it's kind of hard to do that. American companies are going to grab you. And I think that's the purpose of going public, so you can lose control. And I think that's why we see a lot of animosity and hatred for Steam coming from the different public news organizations. You always hear a terrible story about Steam. Gabe Newell, luckily he's not doing too much crazy stuff, but you keep hearing lawsuits against Steam. Steam is getting all that hate from senators and everything else because it's not a publicly traded company. The influence is not there yet. And I think that is a thing you see kind of happen to companies, especially when they become too big like Steam and have too much influence beyond the gaming industry, because Steam does have influence beyond the gaming industry. You can reach into China. Steam is everywhere. So I think that is the thing we're seeing right now. Steam is just so powerful, and people want to change it because it's so powerful. And I think Shift Up being a representation of what gaming ought to be, even though I don't think anyone willingly went after them. I think them becoming greedy and wanted to go public, and the CEO wanted to become a billionaire and wanted everyone in the staff to get money. Yeah, they became greedy, and now that control mechanism is hanging over them. BlackRock, Vanguard, whatever other investment bank in Korea, they're standing there and they're saying, hey, you're going to have to hire these people if you want this extra loan. You want some reduced interest rates. You want something else. You want to expand your secure your bonds on your investment, on your stocks, stuff like that. They can do stuff to you where they can put you in a position where you're at their beck and call, and I think that's what's happening with Shift Up right now. At least not as heavily as it should be, but I think they got put in a position because of controversy where they had to listen to someone that said, hey, you need a American communications manager with a background in DEI, and they're like, okay, hopefully it works out, and it's not going to work out, unfortunately, for them. And I think that is the sentiment that we're seeing come out right now with a lot of people when it comes to Shift Up. They're saying, hey, boycott it. All right, let's see what the chat is. A lot of people talking in the chat. Sorry, let me go back to the top. Let's see what's going on. I believe the game will not be fully DEI. I think you're right, Not Found. It's not going to be fully DEI, the new one. I think they're going to keep on doing what they usually do so far, but I think the first mess up, that's the thing. If Stellar Blade Blood Rain doesn't sell as much, there's going to be people coming in and saying, hey, you got to do this and that. You don't know the American audience. They don't like pretty women. Oh, they don't like these women that look this young or something. They don't like this. They want some old auntie looking person. He's going to nod his head, go, okay, maybe I should do something like that. They're not going to go all the way. Like Japan doesn't have aunties and stuff like that, but they're going to go the route of Japan where the girl is just not going to have any shape or curves. She's just going to have a box frame, sort of. They're going to put an LGBTQ character here or there. They're going to just do these little things where you're like, what am I doing? You're going to be in a fantasy world of Stellar Blade, and you're going to see some random fat black cafeteria lady with a bald head. You're like, who is this person? Why you're some Stellar Blade stunning beauty or something. It's just going to be so confusing, these games in the future. Yeah, the AI vid is not stopping anyone, Agents of Chaos. I'm like, it's just okay. I think it's just a promotional video, and I think it did good promotion. It's like, okay, I actually am interested in this world. Tides of Annihilation. I heard people complaining about that one. I'm not too sure about the Tides of Annihilation one, because I felt like they just really went down to the Asian beauty standards. I think they went away from they were chasing after the foreign beauty standards. They were like, okay, let's just go back to our Asian standards. We don't care about the foreign audience. And I'm all for that. Hey, you don't care about the foreign audience standards. He's like, okay, we're just going to go to our own standards. I prefer that from any developer that's overseas. Just follow your own standards of beauty. So I think that is okay to a certain extent, but I understand people being angry and having some animosity towards some of the changes with Tides of Annihilation. Dang, you don't want to try to play Dragon Age Inquisition, especially nowadays. But what's up, Human User 1? But that game was a hassle to play. That was a difficult game to play, especially me being a Dragon Age fan. That was one of my favorite games, especially near the end of college. I was playing that game so much, Dragon Age 1, Dragon Age 2. And you just look at the development cycles. Dragon Age 1 and Dragon Age 2, they're like 1 or 2 years apart, and they came up with some pretty hefty games pretty recently. Same thing with Mass Effect 2. These games came out so close to each other. It's just like, wow, the developers, I know they were overworked and tired and they complained, but they really put out something that was quality still. And now you have game developers waiting 10 years to produce one game that is mediocre and has kind of basic battle systems that are like, what the heck? You spent 7 years on this? Why would you spend 7 years making this sort of game? And I think that's what people are feeling with a lot of content coming out here. But this guy is going to be a problem that's coming to shift up. He worked for Ubisoft, THQ, Sony PlayStation. He's all around. He's going to be part of hiring. He's going to be part of the hiring process too, coaching. I'm just like, what is he going to be telling these people? We better not see any pronouns. I don't want to see any pronoun nonsense. And maybe this guy was just going with the trend. He was like, hey, everyone's doing pronoun stuff, DEI. Well, I'm doing that. And this guy that they hired, he erased all of the DEI nonsense from his LinkedIn. So he kind of took all of that down. It's like, okay, I'm shifting up. He shifted up his style. He's following the game plan to shift up. He didn't try to keep the same philosophies as he used to have. He's like, hey, I gotta shift up my style. I can't talk about DEI, all this other nonsense. I'm going to remove all that, and I'm going to try to go with what these people want. And I think we have to realize a lot of people in that employment space, they had to say, hey, I'm a DEI, he, him, she, they type of person. You know, I like all of that. I like everything related to that. That's what these people had to do to maintain their jobs. So these are kind of like 9-to-5 workers. So this guy might not bring that much trouble at all, because he doesn't even really believe that stuff. He's just a guy trying to win over and get a job done. And I think controversies around Stellar Blade were enough for them to hire someone like this, and they probably talked to them. Hopefully they talked to him and actually got his perspective and understood this. And I think that's a possibility. We have to look at some people and say, hey, they may have been doing something because, hey, they just wanted a paycheck, and that was the culture of the time. Of course, you're not going to want these people to go to war with you because they're shifting up their cultures, but this is not war, it's video games. So you can shift up your values if you're like that. I think that is the thing people are feeling about this situation. At least I'm feeling that way. I'm like, I'm not going to hold it against them too much, But once I see something wrong, I'm going to say, hey, it's his fault. Point at him, say, hey, it's his fault. He came and the game became bad. I blame him. They turned Eevee into Auntie. I want him out of there. And that we already know who to blame if anything changes. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, you might be right, Agents of Chaos. They may be boiling the frog very slowly, and that is a possibility. The third game will be the Auntie game. I don't know. I just don't think so. They're making too much money right now. It's gonna have to be a slow death, like a boiling of the frog, like you said, Agents of Chaos. It's gonna have to be like how they're doing Japan, where Japan, they still have Tifa. Tifa still looks good, but hey, she slightly censored. She's slightly covered up. She's not fully 100% Tifa, but she is Tifa still. So it's just like, okay, they didn't do it fully, but they're halfway there. And I think that's what people are feeling. That's what I'm feeling specifically. That's what's going to happen. I don't think Korea and these other countries are going to bend that quickly. And I think the state of society is not going in the way where the ESG mobs will be able to manipulate these countries as much. I think that's what we're seeing with Korea in general. Korea is in a situation where they're gonna have to look towards other countries for support and help. Just basically what's happening political wise, where they're looking at America like, man, can't really depend on you. You took all our missiles and ships, and we're left by ourselves to confront China and North Korea. North Korea is more powerful militarily. It's just like they're in a position where they may not have to listen to certain groups of people because they're just not offering anything of value anymore to them. So Korea is in better shape. Japan has a harder time to change because they're just so tied to the American financial institutions, where I don't see anything reversing unless things reverse in America. So Japan is always going to be boiling like a frog because it owes a lot to America, at least in the political and financial landscape. So I don't think there's going to be too much changes. Japan is going downhill, but I think Korea has a strong chance where it can refuse the Godfather offer. I think Korea. I would like to see. I would like to see what they do. That's all. But that's it for this topic. Oh yeah, Wukong. That's the thing I wanted to mention. The Wukong devs, they rejected that offer. So we saw what happened with the DEI consultants from Sweet Baby Inc. They offered them to pay Sweet Baby Inc. $7 million to be consultants. So back then it was so bad for the gaming industry where you had to pay people to ruin your game. And so yeah, Sweet Baby Inc. coming in and say, hey, you have to pay me $7 million to make your game worse. And you will be fearful of them because they'll go and get the journalistic media to attack you for 7 months straight. And that's exactly what happened to Black Myth Wukong, where it was attacked for almost 7 months straight before the game was released. And even after the game sold 30 million copies, it was still being attacked because it didn't take that offer of paying a consultancy firm to add all these DEI elements to their game. And I think that's how bad it was in the past. They can't do that anymore because people already know the game slightly. So I think now we're seeing that influence turning over to the staff, where it usually predominantly came from hiring people onto these non-creative roles to influence the games. I think it's going to be harder for Korea because Korea really is not going to be hiring too much staff in the HR marketing department from American companies unless it opens a studio in America. So I don't think that's going to happen. So I think Stellar Blade is a safe game for the most part. But there are some games that are not safe. And you can see that by what's happening with the Wolverine game. And I think that is the controversy that people are talking about the most right now. Like, what happened to Wolverine? When did Wolverine become Brokeback Mountain? And I think that is the thing people are questioning about Insomniac's Wolverine. And it's a game I was hyped for. I was really looking forward to this game so much because I love that 2008-9 Wolverine game that came out based on Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, and that was probably the best Wolverine game I ever played in my life. So seeing some of the trailers for that game, I expected something similar to that Wolverine, something similar to that relationship with Sabretooth that we saw in that Wolverine. I expected that hypeness. But we didn't get that. We got terrible voice acting. We got kind of this Brokeback Mountain relationship between Sabretooth and Wolverine where it's just like, who are these people? They want to talk like this. They want to look this weak, and it would be more violent. But that's not what we're getting. We're getting this kind of latent homosexual relationship between Sabretooth and Wolverine. And I think a lot of people are noticing it once you call it out. It's like, what's going on? And you can go back to the writers, the people that are developing this game. It's being made by Sweet Baby Inc. It has the consultancy firms that extorted Chinese companies in the past. They worked heavily on Wolverine. It has all the people with all the terrible ideologies that we hate that are on board with the overall marketing, creation, the writing, all the parts that matter with this game. And that's why when you play this game, you see the dialogue, you see the relationship between the characters, and you kind of not shake your head like, is this Wolverine or is this some sort of Redditor? You see Wolverine smiling like he's a cocky Redditor that's made a stupid post about Charlie Kirk. It's like, what are you talking about? This is what people are feeling with this game. Of course, you have the aunties. You got to have all the old aunties in the game. That is the core principle of the modern day gaming environment. You have to have your aunties. You have to have your LGBTQ relationships. You have to have everything that is just not really exciting to the game player or player base. And I think that's the thing we're seeing here. At first, I thought Jean Grey at least looked okay, but even she's an auntie for real. If I'm not lying to myself, which I was at first, I thought she looked okay, but when you look at it, it's just like, she just looks like an auntie too, man. It's nothing too amazing. And I think that's the situation I'm feeling with a lot of games that are coming from Insomniac in general. And I think that's the thing people are complaining about when it comes to the modern day landscape of gaming, where gaming has kind of its stereotypes right now, where we already know what sort of game we're going to get, and we already know how it's going to look, and we already know what story beats it's going to have. And when I saw this trailer, I thought, okay, it's about Wolverine. He's saving X-Men mutants that are being abducted by ICE. He's doing Reddit tweet. This gif always gets me. But he's doing like awkward Reddit poses and reactions, and he's gonna be on the rails for the most part, where you have to follow things that are obviously a trail or a red line. We see this happening so much with modern gaming that it's just become a trope now. It's a stereotype. We know how games play now, and we know where the stories go, because we know the people that are making the games. And I think that's the saddest part, where we can make an AI scene of Wolverine serving coffee, and it makes sense because that's the people that we're dealing with. They like seeing their main characters talking about food and being rescued by random aunties. And I think that is the current landscape of the gaming industry, and we're seeing it personified with Wolverine. And I think that is my general feeling about this game, where it's just like, wow, they didn't miss a beat. They followed every stereotype, and they did it without blinking an eye. And I think that is the source of frustration for so much people. It's not a game, it's just a walk-in simulator. I think you got it right, Human User One. I think when I saw this game, my first instinct was like, okay, this is a walking simulator. Even the violence, I thought was like, the violence looks like you press one or two buttons and he does everything in himself. And I think that's why I hated about some of the Spider-Man games, Spider-Man 2 specifically, where it felt like his combat was on a chain. It was like on a rail, where you press one or two buttons, he does 7 things. It's like, okay, I'm not even doing anything. I don't need to know combinations. I just have to press a few buttons and something will happen, and I don't have to think, and I can just feel cool. And I think that is kind of the general way of making games nowadays, making easy looking games. And some people are really complaining about some of the suits as well. As you can see here, the suits look atrocious. And I think that's the thing we're seeing with some of the terrible art design. And if you know the people that are making some of the costumes and art for Wolverine, it's the Concord designers. And you're wondering, why would people choose the Concord designers for a Wolverine game? They choose the Concord designers because the Concord designers has the same philosophy, thoughts, and understanding of a lot of the Insomniac employees. I think that's the thing that is kind of hampering the gaming industry more than anything. These connections of people that are incompetent but keep getting chances because they have the same ideological trend and pattern that these people believe in. And I think that's what we see so deeply with Insomniac, where Insomniac is kind of lost in the sauce of hiring people that strictly have this political mindset. And I think that's what we see with some of the people they hire for the designs. They hire Concord artists, character artists, some of the worst characters in the history of gaming, and they brought that person in to make costumes for the Wolverine game. So it's no wonder he looks like he's a furry, like he's wearing cat ears. He doesn't look like Wolverine. He looks like an idiot. And I think that's what people are finding out about this current state of the gaming industry, where the people that are making these decisions in gaming are the people that have the worst skills and mindset for the industry. And I think it makes absolutely complete sense when you see a terrible costume like this, because of these people that don't have the design sense or understanding of what the audience actually loves about Wolverine as a character. If they can't write Wolverine, they can't find the right people to actually write Wolverine. They're going to find the worst people to design Wolverine. And that's why we have this Hobbit version of Wolverine. I know people can say he's always short. I'm not talking about him just being short. I'm talking about him looking like he's a Hobbit from Lord of the Rings. Wolverine doesn't look like a Hobbit from Lord of the Rings. He may be short, but he looks like a feral animal that is aggressive and filled with testosterone. I think that is the thing that is frustrating a lot of people, because the current Wolverine is just a soft-faced Hobbit that will be friends with the other hobbits in the Shire. Like, he would be a friendly Hobbit in the Shire. People would depend on him. Like, oh, this Wolverine, he's always cooking some jam for everyone in the Shire. I'm like, no, that's not the Wolverine I want to see. I don't want to see Hobbit Wolverine that is bringing the ring to Mount Doom. No, I don't want to see that version. I want to see the aggressive, the violent, the testosterone-filled version that has no remorse, that doesn't feel like he's a bottom to Sabretooth. I want to see the version of Wolverine that we love. And I think that is the thing people are demanding for the most part. I'm like, dang, they really just took all the manliness out of Wolverine. That is just absurd. What's up, Skibbity G? Nice to see you back. All right, we got a lot of chats. Thank you guys for joining me. Yeah, it doesn't even look like Sabretooth Human User 1. Oh yeah, other people doing the Brokeback Mountain comparison. Yeah, it's there. You can't unsee it once you see the Brokeback Mountain comparison. Agents of Chaos. It's just like, it's just obvious. Yeah, they are. And oh yeah, this is another thing. The voice actors, they're hiring people that can't voice act, and you already know why they're hiring people. They're hiring people based on race. So if you're one particular race, it's the same thing that happened with the Ada Wong situation with Resident Evil, where they hired a terrible voice actress when the original voice actress was perfectly capable and skillful, but she wasn't Asian. So they got a terrible Asian Korean actress to be the voice, and it just didn't match what we wanted from that character. And that's the unfortunate thing. We're reducing the talent around these industries, and I think that is the convincing thing. That's the most damning thing of the situation, where the talent is being squeezed out for people that don't have the skills but have the right beliefs or the right look. And I think that is a terrible thing to see, especially when we have a passion for a lot of these character designs or characters in general. Yeah, all the designs look so soy based. It's just like, who made these? And like I said, the character artist is a Concord character artist. Like, what can you expect? They didn't grab someone from Elden Ring or some other person with skills to be a character, to do the character art. No, they grabbed someone who has the worst skills, and of course we expect the worst from them, and they delivered the worst. How could you mess up a Wolverine costume? And it's easy. They just did it right in our face. Yeah, the Mystique scene always annoyed me. She moves slow like she's Ashoka from Star Wars, played by that actress. I forget her name, but she moves slow. Like they really didn't speed up the movements of the actress. Like they're saying, no, we refuse. We're gonna use all her slow movements in this trailer. I'm like, what are you doing? Make her look good actually when she fights. And it's just this kind of dedication to mediocrity that's at the source of this. And I think we see this all throughout the gaming industry right now, where the talent is not rising to the top, and more than anything, the incapable are rising to the top, and they're doing it on purpose. And I'm like, wow, this is just it's frustrating. You can't escape Ironjaw. That is one axiom of the current day gaming industry. You will see some chiseled jaws, and they will not be coming from any of the male characters. You don't see that with Wolverine, but you'll see it with Jean Grey. You'll see it with Mystique. You'll see it with all these other characters. Yeah, that doesn't make sense to be Mystique and you actively come out looking like an auntie. That's your design you chose. Like, I'm an auntie. That's my true form, auntie form. Is the Sheep Detective that bad? Oh, I thought it would be at least okay. I thought it would be like a fun, dumb movie. I know he does. He's not in the movie long, but hopefully they make a humiliating end for him. But I didn't know that. I already knew the death of Robin Hood is gonna be terrible, because I'm just tired of seeing these kind of deconstructions of heroes. Like, oh, you like this hero, but he was trash and he was evil. Like, okay, I don't care. I'm looking for heroes. I'm not looking for your deconstruction of heroes. And of course, with this game, we all have the support system kind of carrying it. And we know that means we're going to have the gaming journalists coming out and support it. And I think that's what we see with so much of these trades now. They're kind of just cheerleaders for their approved games. I think Sony PlayStation is the approved console system of the gaming journalistic class. It's an obvious thing to see. It's an obvious thing to see, especially when you kind of keep an eye on what they always support. You always know when a Sony game's coming out, it's a protected class in and of itself. Any Sony game is going to be protected because it has all the ideology. It hired all the right people from Hollywood, from Los Angeles, San Francisco, Santa Monica. All the people that are connected, they're with Sony right now. And that's the thing we're going to see right now. And they're paying everyone. They're paying GameSpot, IGN. They're getting most of their advertisement from these gigantic organizations. So they're going to give them the most support. And I think that's why people are having this kind of frustration with these news entities that come out, because they're there to say, hey, this evil people hate the game. They're hating on it because it's coming from an organization that has upright and moral values. And that's the angle they always take, is they say it's the evil chuds that hate the game. It's the evil, misogynist, racist people that hate the game as usual. So buy this game because you hate them. And it's kind of this crazy marketing scheme we've been seeing all throughout the entertainment space. And it's weird. It's weird that people haven't picked up, but it makes sense. People haven't picked up that this doesn't work, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't work. They just want to shape the narrative around this game, around the people that will believe this narrative, like the investors, where they'll nod their head and say, okay, it's just those evil racists. Okay, we got to change their mind. We're going to make more. I'm going to put more money down, and we're going to continue on with this slop that we're seeing in the current age of gaming. And I think that is the worrying thing I have about the Wolverine game. It has all the support, and I think all that support is kind of it's depending on what they produce, because we see the opposite happen with Xbox. Xbox doesn't have the support of the industry. It's always being attacked by the industry for not having all those values, but they've been firing a lot of people. They've been firing a lot of the people within these organizations that have these values. So now they're enemy number one for these gigantic journalistic organizations. I think that's why we see GameSpot, we see IGN, Kotaku always attacking Xbox, because it's letting go of this talent that has been at Xbox consistently for years, producing terrible content, manipulating the games that they've been producing, and making the gaming industry, making the gamers themselves enemy number one for the gaming industry. And it's just always weird to hear that, but it's true that a corporation that depends on gamers makes them the enemy. And that only happens when ideology supersedes profits. And I think a lot of people in the past would say, hey, that's a good thing. But is it a good thing? We're seeing the layoffs happening because of that. And it's leading to a lot of people losing their jobs. But when the ideology is more important than the games themselves, this is the result. Yeah, it's always that poor $1 million company. We got to protect it no matter what. And I think it makes more sense when it's like, hey, this billion dollar company is paying my magazine salary, is paying my internet site, journalistic site, is paying advertisement fees. So I have to kind of cozy up to them. And I think that's the sentiment that we're seeing ultimately play out here, where Xbox used to get some of this leeway, but they had to fire people, and those firings hurt the journalists more than anything, because a lot of the people that used to work in journalism now work in games development. They hopped over to Ubisoft, they hopped over to Xbox, they hopped over all over Sony, and they've ruined those companies, and now they're seeing the fruits of their labor. I'm happy about the layoffs because of that. I'm like, okay, you've been producing trash. It's finally high time that you let go of a lot of these people that are deep in making that trash that's not going to sell. Yeah, it's the best thing I've seen. And I think that came from a guy that's a developer within the industry that's super woke and very I guess progressive. As a progressive activist that wondered, like, hey, why are we always making aunties when we can make some beautiful black women? I think this guy kind of started out this phrase by accident, but it was so true. Like, yeah, why are we playing as aunties all the time? We don't need to have grocery store aunties. I forget who's the guy who did that. Let me put up his stuff, because I think he's the first guy that really said what we all knew was true. I saw that phrase. I was like, yeah, that guy understands what's happening. We can't see it. I can't find it. Whatever. Well, some journalists, some game developers said, hey, why are we have all these black women looking like grocery store aunties? Can't we make them look good for once, maybe? Maybe make them look good? And everyone got angry at him. They pushed him out of his job because he said the obvious truth. Let me see. I know it's here somewhere. Oh, here it is, maybe. Let's see. Oh, Bound into Comics is terrible now. Maybe. Yeah, this. They're coming back like grocery store aunties. Yeah, some guy, he was developing games. And every time he made, yeah, here it is. Here's the post. This guy. I think he was one of the first people that said it. Where he was developing for the Kill the Justice League game. He's like, every time I put in like some beautiful black woman, a design, a model, it comes out as a grocery store auntie by the end of the cycle. And I think that's what we see. He's probably worked with a lot of different diverse staff of most predominantly women, and they see the beautiful woman he's making and they're like, nope, we're gonna make her a grocery store auntie, a cafeteria lady. That is the template for any girl in this universe. And I think that's at least my origin of that word, where I noticed it at first. I was like, okay, that's an accurate description. It's like I'm playing my auntie. I'm like, and I think someone's going to come with that description anyways, because we are literally playing aunties now. That is the predominant cast for every woman in gaming, where you're playing an auntie. And this is the thing. When you look at this game, it's like, the old Wolverine game did so much more to make you feel like you were in an X-Men game. You have that giant sentinel, and it kind of just takes you back to Saturday morning cartoons, the old version, where you're like, whoa, I have to fight this gigantic monstrosity sentinel. And it makes you feel like you're in trouble, just like in those cartoons. That's what I want to see. But this thing, the modern day Insomniac version, is just that hack and slash 2D nonsense that we're used to playing. It wasn't nonsense back then during the PS2, PS1 era, but now I'm looking at this, I'm like, hey, you can't be doing things from PS1, PS2 era. You're gonna have to do something actually intensely creative. And I think that's what we saw with the old Wolverine games, where they did creative things. They made a game that was difficult to actually beat. And I think that is the thing that is missing a lot in the current state of the gaming industry. But it is wild to see some of these changes. And yeah, the IP carries sales. I think you're right. Wolverine will be successful, unfortunately. I think that's the thing that's gonna be hard to avoid, because it's Wolverine and there's blood, there's violence, has everything I want to see in a Wolverine game. And I think that's what a lot of people would be hyped about. I'm hyped about it. I was hyped about it up until this past week or so, where I'm like, okay, this is nonsense. This is gonna be trash. And I think that is the sentiment that is prevailing for any hardcore gamer that's watching this, where we already kind of suspect it's gonna be terrible. Yeah, I'm tired of that giant forearm boss fight. I'm done with it. I'm done with it. Look at these designs. There's another example of all the Auntie designs that we're getting. And it goes back to the writer. The Brokeback Mountain stuff, we're getting it from some political activist, Black Lives Matter type of protester. Or ICE, to get ICE out of my city type of protester. And I think that's the thing that we see so much with a lot of the people that are making games now, where they just don't have the gumption or understanding of making a quality character. So why would we expect anything less from the person that is working on Wolverine? I think just by seeing her, I know it's impossible for her to write Wolverine. I know people gonna say, hey, just stop being discriminatory, whatever. But it's just like looking at her writing, she would write a Brokeback Mountain version of Wolverine, because she doesn't. She's not impressed with the Wolverine that us gamers or fans of Wolverine like. She wants to see the sensitive side, the Hobbit version of Wolverine, and that's what we'll get. That's the unfortunate thing. Of course, people making fun of Wolverine. Say, hey, you should have cast Bella Ramsey. I forget this guy's name. You should have put him, this YouTuber, in it. Bella Ramsey. Pedro Pascal. I don't know. It might work out. You just don't know. It might work out in the end. Oh, yeah, Kratos. I gotta talk about this Kratos recast thing, though, which is which I'm not really happy with. So we finally got the news. Dave Bautista is officially cast as Kratos in the live-action God of War series, and I don't think he really looks like Kratos. Every time I see him, I'm like, okay, he has a bald head. He's a good actor, so it's not like they're downgrading the actor themselves. So he's an overall high-quality actor, and of course, the old actor just didn't look like him, at least from the still they released. It seems like they sort of sabotaged this actor for some reason. They gave him a terrible bald cap, put him in a position where his belly was hanging out. So they really didn't give him any benefit of the doubt here. But Dave Bautista, he's not a bad pick. He's a choice that I would say, hey, he's going to be a good actor for the most part for this role. But for me, I never really liked this version of Kratos. It's not my version of Kratos. So I was never really hyped. But I just feel like, there's some shenanigans happening with this series where it feels like people are kicking people out. The production seems wonky. It doesn't seem steady, and it's coming from Amazon. So I'm thinking, okay, there's going to be some rewrites here that are going to be in line with some of the things that we see in modern day entertainment. I don't think we're going to see anything of quality here, specifically from Amazon. But that's just my 2 cents on this. I just want to go over it real quickly. This Dave Bautista hire. And since I've been talking about it so much, might as well finish up. What's up, Benjamin Altman? Yeah, I was never really happy with those games. It's just like the Norse games. I'm like, man, this is not the type of feel I wanted. I understand people were into that, breaking down the hero, deconstruction of evil, of a hero that killed people. I'm like, yeah, it's okay for a while, but I don't really care anymore about that deconstruction. And I think that's what a lot of people are feeling with this. So that's just me. I may be wrong, so. But after that, we got to talk about the biggest story of the year, and not of the year, probably of the past 4 days. Has to be the GTA 6 leaks. Of course, these leaks are not real. This video is not part of the leaks. If I showed you the leaks, they're going to actually take down my whole stream and channel. So I can't show you the leaks. I'll show you pictures a little bit later. But yeah, the GTA leaks came out, and they are disappointing for a lot of people. A lot of people are not feeling the GTA leaks, and I think me in particular, I felt they were kind of weak for the most part. And I think that's the situation you would get from watching something that was illegally hacked and stolen from the server from 3 to 4 years ago. But for me, thinking about it, I'm like, 3 to 4 years ago, that's just still, it should have some sort of quality. It should have some state where, hey, you've been working on this game for 15 years, well, 12 years, I'll say. You should have some standard where the game is functional and fun and easy to play and actually looking somewhat stellar. And I think that's what people expected with the GTA leak. We expected to see this version that we're seeing, the AI version that people have been imagining, the trailer version. And I think that's the thing we just didn't see. We saw a terrible build of the game where it just didn't look functional and finished, and I think it was completely unintentional on Rockstar part. But I think it came out with good reason, where Rockstar put themselves in a situation where there was no other choice other than this game leaking, because the people they hired, the people they surrounded around this game, I'm not talking about the woke LGBTQ diversity hires that Rockstar probably has in their ranks right now. They're not the number one problem. The number one problem is what we see all across the industry in America, where we have people that simply do not have the same taste or feel or understanding of cultures in control of these gigantic leaks or valuable objects that a lot of people want to be protected. And I think if you're releasing GTA 6, you have to protect that. And it seems like Rockstar put in people in place that simply did not care about the protection of their IP or intellectual property. And And that's functionally what we've been seeing with these leaks. You've been seeing sloppy leaks. You've been seeing leaks that downright disrespected the quality of the game itself. And I think that happens when you outsource the majority of the production process to India. And that's what we've been seeing with these leaks, where a lot of people are saying, hey, this is coming from some India developers at Rockstar India, and they grabbed an early build of the game and they're leaking it, trying to get money out of it. And I think this is a typical thing you would actually see from a kind of a third world country. I want to say India is a third world country, but it's teetering on that end, and you're depending on them to produce content for your gigantic AAA game that is going to make you billions of dollars, and you're sourcing a lot of your data managers, data analysts from India. You got to expect some leaks, and so you can't leave a build of the game there. I thought if they were dealing with India, they would deal with like some specific assets. It wouldn't give them a build of the game, but Rockstar Games, ever so increasingly going on that train of hiring cheaper labor, did that, and they're seeing the consequences for it. And I don't really feel sorry for them. Like, okay, you outsource this part of your development process. Expect the unexpected, and expect someone to steal your content and sell it online. And that's what we're seeing with some of the speculations around the leaker, where people are saying the leaker stole a lot of the elements of this game. They're putting it out online, and now they're making some heavy bids for the game, where they're calling out people, say, give me $100,000, $150,000 per leak, and I'll release the entire build. And that is a speculation that's happening around the GTA 6 leaker CyberLeak, who's now running a casino and asking for Bitcoin, Solana, all this other stuff. And I'm like, okay, this guy obviously did it for the money. It's not about being a hero, but of course, they're going to say they're a hero regardless. And that's simply what we're seeing now around with these GTA leaks, where it's been turned into sort of a sideshow for a lot of people. It's a sideshow where we're seeing the leakers put out content of a degraded version of GTA 6, and gamers are angry about it. And I think that's the thing. I'm feeling bad about the GTA 6 leaks, where I'm imagining what I'm seeing from the AI edit right now. I'm like, yo, it should look like this. It's going to be amazing, right? This is my imagination of GTA 6. And I think that's the imagination of everyone with GTA 6. We expected something of this standard and quality, something that we can say this is truly next generation. And I think that's the thing that we're seeing play out with a lot of this situation, where it's becoming kind of something that's putting out our expectations, where we've been watching these AI versions of GTA for so long that we expect something to be as astonishing as the AI edits and manipulations that we saw, or we're expecting something that is going to be completely immersive, that reminds you of Miami. I think we see that in the trailer, but from the leaks, we really don't see that. The leaks kind of look atrocious. And let me show you some of the leaks. Where are they? Let's see. Where are the leaks? Where are the leak pages? Give me a second. Oh, there we go. So here's some of the leak pictures. And if you look at the leaks, it just looks like GTA 5. It looks like GTA 5 with degraded graphics, nothing special overall. And it's coming out on the PS5, the PS5, Xbox Series X. So it makes sense that it's not going to be of high quality. It's not going to be stunning quality. It's going to be at 30 frames per second. It's not going to be anything that we haven't seen before. And I think this is kind of symbolic of this modern generation of game development, where we expect to see something that is truly generational, and we keep coming back to PS4, basically PS4 graphics, or basic PC graphics from 10 years ago, where nothing has really changed except special NVIDIA lighting. So I'm like, this is not what we wanted to see from a GTA game. And I think regardless, it's an early build. It's not supposed to be the game itself, but it just looks cheap. It looks like a game that hasn't been improved on. It looks like it's coming from a company that hasn't changed changed anything about itself, where it knows it's going to get that $10 billion its first week, where it doesn't need to do anything to change the outcome. The outcome's coming regardless, so they don't have to change anything about the game itself. And I think that is the sad state of what we're seeing with the leaks around GTA 6. It kind of gave us our worst expectations that, hey, we're just getting GTA 5, but it's in Miami, Florida, and nothing else changed. And that is the sad part of the modern day gaming environment today. But let me look at some of the chats before I continue on. Yeah, I think if you're Rockstar, that's why I put all the blame on them. Benjamin Altman's like, you outsource most of your content to India. Yeah, you're gonna get some big leaks. People are going to leak your content. So that's why I'm like, why did you give them a build of your content? You give them some assets to design, but they gave a whole build out to someone within India. That is just mindless and too much penny pinching at Rockstar Games. Yeah, Sony security still sucks. So yeah, that is true. Wasn't there like a kid that was arrested by the FBI because he hacked Rockstar Games? Yeah, there's something like that. A lot of hacking geniuses are hacking Rockstar Games, so it must be a hassle for Rockstar to deal with it. So there's a lot of hacking geniuses just targeting them all the time. Yeah, I can believe that. Hackers, you're probably right, Benjamin Altman. A lot of hackers believe in removing physical content, and you might be right. They may have gotten the build from India, but it might have been like a American Western hacker that used someone from India. I think that's probably more likely than anything else, where some hacker already knew, oh, they're outsourcing to India. I can actually hack them through India, the Indian network. The Indian network probably was somewhat connected to some headquarters in England or America. So they probably found some sort of human error in the chain of custody there. So I'm thinking that's probably the case, where they figured something out where, like, okay, this is the weak point of Rockstar. It starts in India, and if you have any company in India, that is your weak point automatically. For any hacker, you can get there, you can bribe your way, you can get anything you want in India that way. And I think that's the situation a lot of these companies seemingly refuse to understand about different countries and cultures, where they're like, they have completely different standards. So if you come in there with like some highly secretive project, expect it to be sold to China and every other company in the world within a few weeks. Polished 10-year-old graphics. I think you might be right, Ages of Chaos. Is there? I don't know. There might be some money laundering. I think that might be the case. I think they might be hiring people that just have useless titles, marketing, HR, kind of this daycare system that we see all over the corporate world, where you're hiring people that do basically nothing and go to meetings. So once you become a public company, you have to start a daycare program, I think, with a bunch of project managers, marketing managers, sales managers. You got to get all these people that don't do too much, but you need them, because that is part of owning a public company. You can look at Steam. Steam has like 300 employees and has the biggest gaming platform out there. So it's just, I think that's what happens. Twitter used to have 10,000 employees. Now it's run by 30 people. So I think a lot of these companies, they think they need 50,000 people. Ubisoft thought it needed 50,000 people to make 4 games. So I think that is the absurdity of modern public trading. Once your company goes public, you have to become a daycare for a subset of society, sort of. Yeah, once you become public, you got to bring in the lazy people. Like I said, you got to bring in the people that offer nothing, but the devolution of your intellectual property. Yeah, private is always better. I know people don't like. Some people hate on Steam, but Steam has been pretty good these past few decades, and they're still private. So private is always better. Chick-fil-A. I know some people don't like Chick-fil-A, but Chick-fil-A is still good. You got to keep things private. Once you go public, that is a dispossession of everything good about your company, starting right there. But we see the cyber leakers. They're saying we're doing it for the gamers' rights, and it's highly possible because I can believe hackers know where this no digital future is going. It goes into a future where it's going to be harder to hack. It's going to be harder to go dark on the internet. It's going to be harder to move information, to move cross countries. It's going to be harder to do anything, but because everything is tracked and has a digital tag on it. I think that's what they're fighting for, because this is the situation we're going to see, where digital is going to strip away that hard reality of just the internet, of just computing, where you can't be reached because not everything is digital. Some things are just not a part of that digital space, and you can remove yourself and you can hide and you can get into places because you are not part of that digital tracking system. So I can see them looking at this like, hey man, we gotta stop this. This is just a slippery slope. And of course, it's just cool to do this regardless, especially against Sony and Rockstar. And I think that is just the major factor. It's like, hey, the Rockstar game is the biggest game in the world's gonna come out. I'm gonna hack it. And you saw past hackers do this multiple times, even before we heard about no digital copy of the game. Someone was just wanted to hack this system. We saw, we had previous leaks. I forgot to mention. We had previous leaks for Rockstar games. It's just a goal to hack it. And I think probably because it has high standards, high security systems. So people are just getting into the challenge. It's a challenge you can do without hacking the government and just getting life imprisonment or something. So I think this is just a cool target for them in general. And when you can get a cool target and you can make a list of demands people will agree with, I think you do it. And of course, that's what CyberLeak is doing. The 3 demands: no digital pre-orders. Players should not have to pay for digital games before release and independent reviews. Number 2, no fake single-player DLC content. Of course, everyone's going to love that one. But that should already be included with the game files. Should not be locked behind an additional purchase. And yeah, that's an obvious thing that we keep seeing now more than ever, where we get locked DLC content. That should already be part of the game. Number 3, preserve single-player content games. Preserve single-player content games should receive an offline fallback when servers shut down, allowing purchased single-player content to remain playable. And that's the concept that we're seeing right now with Stop Killing Games. Of course, Stop Killing Games distance themselves from this, which they should obviously do. They don't want to be connected to any criminal activity. And this is a criminal act. You're breaking and entering and stealing content. That is theft. And if it's international, you can involve Interpol and all these other elements. So it's just not going to be a good look to be associated with this, especially if you're Stop Killing Games and you're trying to get Europe to change the laws to actually feed into the demand number 3 of the cyber leakers. So he's obviously took a popular cause and he's getting the praise for it. But is that praise valid? I think that's the thing people are seeing, where they're looking at GTA 6 and they know it's valid for this. We see this with online shops and missions locked behind a paywall. So that's why the demands are like that for GTA 6, because they definitely did lock some things they already have on the, well, I wouldn't say disc, but on the digital package that are already there. So it's just like, wow, they really went all out. Some people are even suspicious that we might get a subscription model for future content where you're going to have to be subscribed for $10 a month to get even additional content. So we have subscription models, we have DLCs, we have so much things merging with GTA 6 that I can see a lot of people going, whoa, this has to be a fight here. We have to attack them and we have to hit them hard. But I don't think these leaks are going to produce any reception from Rockstar. Rockstar already knows we got the best game of the year. No one's going to stop us. And I think that is the thing we have to face as gamers, that we really can't stop Rockstar Games because they already know what they're going to do. They have gaming behind them. They have everyone supporting them. And if they pull something off like this, they would have my support as well. But of course, this AI version of the character. That's never. We see this one video I saw. This is an actual leak here. I won't stay on it too long, but I wanted to show you this. And this is where I'm like, man, it just doesn't look like a high quality game in of itself for me, at least for me. So, or at least the leaks that they're showing. You see some more leaks. It just looks like GTA 5. It doesn't look like anything that is completely impressive. No, that's a fake AI leak. Fake AI leak there. I just like the AI leaks better for some reason. But that's enough of that. Let me read some of the topics here. Let's read some of the comments. Yeah, Chick-fil-A. I'm glad people agree. I like Chick-fil-A, man. So Chick-fil-A has some good food. So I'm always going to the airport. I'm grabbing Chick-fil-A if they have it at the airport. They have it at Chick-fil-A at the LA airport. I don't know if they have it anywhere else, though. They don't have it in Florida, unfortunately. Oh, the alert. Okay, the alerts are working. Thank you, Benjamin Altman. You're the first person that tested out my alert system. So if you donate, you will see that. You will hear the Solid Snake alert sound right there. All right, we can watch that one. I'm just about done with this topic anyways. I don't think I have anything else to say about it. We got a few more topics to go, but we can watch that one. I'm going to watch the Indian Simulator after that. But, all right, let's see what Basic Logic has cooked up for us today. There's a lot of stuff happening in society today, but let's see what they got up. Oh, yeah, Woke 1.01. I saw AOC talking about this. I've seen people talking about this online. Since Woke 1.0 failed, they're moving on to Woke 1.20, which is going to be relatively more silent but deadly. And I think that's something we should be scared about, because they may be able to get this past a lot of people that may not be aware. But I think it's going to be difficult to do that, especially nowadays, because people are just too hyper aware of some of the logic leaps people are making nowadays. I mean, come on, people saying they don't want prisons anymore. There's like an ordinance passed in LA recently where they're saying, hey, we gotta allow homeless people to sleep near your front door, your sidewalks. You just can't kick them out. So you have this crazy logic where being a criminal is seen as the victim, and being a victim is seen as being the criminal, because you don't have empathy for the criminal that did the crime against you. And I think that's the thing we're seeing with a lot of cases nowadays. And specifically, I'm going to talk later about that Lindsay Clancy case, where it's just showing that, whoa, we've kind of went off in the deep end with the Lindsay Clancy case, the Carmelo Anthony case, where people just lost their logic and are just off into la la land. And I think, of course, this is due to siloed echo chambers that we're in, but it's also due to kind of this strain and fracture in society today, where people honestly just don't believe the same things anymore, and they kind of don't believe in the same reality anymore. I think that's what I like about these Basic Logic stuff. kind of show us what's happening between that divide. But let's start up. Let me get this big. Sorry, I just keep looking at this video. Like, what is this? Oh, this Office. Okay, all right.
All the online right are rejoicing with the supposed death of what is being called Woke 1.0. At long last, people, even on the left, are finally admitting that the 2010s were complete insanity. Finally, we can answer questions like, what is a woman? Without having a circular definition. Finally, we can admit that putting men in combat sports against women is not wise. Men are now allowed to part their legs when they sit down, free from judgment. No more Zer Zem pronouns. No more drag queen story hours. We have the entire right celebrating, we have the left playfully reflecting on their past convictions, and we even have the LGB telling the T to be normal. Ironic. So, did we do it? Did we win the culture war? No. Actually, this is a sign of the right's defeat. Something that many, including myself, warned would happen if things continued the way they were going. And in this video, I go over why that is, and the actual political drive behind Woke 1.0's death. And if you enjoyed, consider subscribing, it helps the channel.
Yeah, I gotta say, I've always felt this way. I'm like, yeah, things are gonna be in trouble. I think people thought that a lot of ideas won after Trump, but I think, especially after seeing the Charlie Kirk shooting and what happened to him, where he's basically a joke online now, I'm like, whoa, okay. And you see some of these other cases, it's just like, okay, things are going to be more harder and more aggressive now. And I think a lot of the people on the right, they're still acting like it's 2009. I'm like, okay, things are going to get more aggressive and deadly, and you're still acting like it's 2009. You're going to be stomped over and kicked to the curb. And you're going to be sent to the gallows, and people are going to be cheering on your demise, and you're just going to be still talking like it's 1990, it's 2009, the Bush talking points. It's just some people are living in an unreality, and that includes some conservatives who think we're still in that civil age of discourse in politics, where you can talk to different sides of the aisle. I'm like, okay, yeah, you can think that maybe the politicians can, but a lot of the people that are not politicians are ready to be violent. And I think that is the thing people have to truly sit down and accept. But let's go on. Let me stop talking. Let's hear what basic logic has to say.
I said in one of my earliest videos that a right-wing revolution was inevitable. By right-wing here, I actually mean anti-woke. My reasoning was as follows. With the left's mass importation of peoples from the third world, who, by themselves, tend to be very hostile to woke ideology, the liberals signed their own death warrant. The woke left somehow believed that these people, known for their tribalism and religious extremism, would perfectly parrot the liberal worldview. They didn't, as should have been obvious. This means that as the third world population grows in the West and becomes a decisive voter bloc, they would turn on the woke liberals who enabled them, and try to impose their own worldview, as, by the way, has already happened in several cities and states. We're in a situation where many Western European countries will become minority European within only 1 to 3 generations, with most capitals already undergoing that switch. America has just a bit longer. On screen, you're seeing some of the statistics on this, caused by a mix of low fertility among locals due to both cultural factors and economic policy, and the unrelenting immigration numbers, as well as the high fertility among foreigners due to their own distinct culture, and being the beneficiaries of the West's disastrous welfare policies. Therefore, if things continue as is, the West will be remade in the third world's image within the coming decades. Naturally,
And that's the thing a lot of people in America simply don't understand, especially if you haven't traveled to other countries and lived in other cultures, which is something I did a lot when I was younger. You realize other cultures are completely different, and some things cannot be produced from other cultures if you're living in that culture. And I think that's what people seemingly can't understand, where there's no magic soil where a person that comes to America, and if they're not steeped in American culture, they're gonna bring their own culture, and it's not gonna produce the same thing that you want to see from America from 20, 30, 40 years ago. And I think that's the thing a lot of people have a hard time accepting, where they think, okay, this person can bring their entire culture here and it's gonna actually fit in without any kind of control and guardrails from my own culture. That is simply not going to work. And I think that's what people, especially people that are progressive, have a hard time understanding, because they haven't traveled to the world. They haven't been to India and saw what India really is like and know, okay, this place is impossible to go with Western culture, because their values simply do not align with Western values. And I think that's what a lot of people have a hard time accepting with these situations. And I think I sort of thought like that when I was younger. When I was really young, I was still in my teenage years, I used to think like this. But once you go to different cultures, like, okay, this is different. People are different. People truly have different value systems, especially if you're a Christian going to a different culture. People that are not Christian have completely different values. They don't have some of the Christian standard values that you think, like thou shalt not kill, steal, or all these other stuff. This is not in their logic system for some people. I think a lot of people have a hard time believing that. But back to the video, sorry.
Within the coming decades. Naturally, that means there are only two broad political positions that still matter. Either A, the third world, or B, the dissident right, who oppose their presence and the current establishment that enabled their mass importation. Everything else is secondary until this is resolved. And regardless of who would win in such a situation, they will be anti-woke. Given these options, where does that leave the left? The average woke leftist has three paths laid before them. Path 1, they can stay woke. They don't recant their beliefs, they continue to push LGBT, neo-pronouns, feminism, etc. unapologetically. Force it in schools, at the workplace, in movies, desperately trying to spread propaganda with every institution they still control to see if their numbers can grow enough. But they won't. And they'll start losing more and more to non-woke leftists or right-wingers until they become irrelevant. And when the power struggle between the distant right and the third world really begins, they'll be the first to be gotten rid of, effectively making this option an act of self-destruction. That's always been the woke leftist specialty, so maybe they might go with it. Path 2, they become based. A niche but increasingly common option these days, a lot of woke leftists have attempted to rehabilitate themselves, dropping their pro-immigration stance and some of their more insane cultural values, and then replacing it with nationalism. The combination of their economic policies with their newfound nationalism makes them oddly and perhaps deliberately similar to certain 20th century ideologies. It's rare because so much of leftist programming is about abhorring those certain 20th century ideologies, but it does happen. Generally, these people are treated by the distant right with suspicion, but they can't.
I think instead of the painter, it should probably be Mao. I'm thinking Mao, maybe Stalin. I'm thinking that they're more in that direction, I think, for the most part, but close enough.
Can't afford to be picky with their allies, so the distant right tolerates these based leftists, despite many believing that socialist policies are still innately subversive. Nationalism, however, remains non-negotiable. The moment one of these rehabilitated leftists starts advocating for something that sounds like civic nationalism, that is the belief that a nation is defined not by its people, but rather by the state bureaucracy, they're politically exiled. Path 3. They become a woke 2.0. Woke 2.0 is a term coined in recent statements by high-profile leftist politicians, and it's being marketed as a less insane version of wokeness that puts less emphasis on cultural causes like the LGBT, while maintaining the same economic policy and pro-immigration stance. That's the main difference between the previous option and this one. The previous option is loyal to their own nation and wants to bring about their supposed socialist utopia for their own people, recognizing that unlimited immigration makes the welfare state unsustainable. Meanwhile, this option is still globalist. Effectively, it's attempting to signal to the third world faction that the left are their allies and that they're willing to abandon the positions that the third world doesn't like. When people saw leftists admitting the death of woke 1.0 and calling it crazy, They thought that the right won the culture war. That is false. The Third World won the culture war, not the right. And what does the Third World faction actually want? It's varied because they're not homogenous, but they have enough aligned interests to be considered one political bloc for the time being. They want more immigration to continue so that they can continue to bring over their communities. They want more state welfare for them, more public housing, more gifts from the national treasury. After all, it's not their money they're taking to pay for these amenities, it's the locals' taxes. Their own tax contribution is often net negative. The Third World also wants to be able to enforce their own rules in their communities, free from outside interference, which is why leftist politicians placate them by having two-tiered law enforcement and judges that are significantly more lenient with them than the locals. They want to see more of their own in positions of power and authority. And lastly, they don't want to see LGBT flags or pride parades or anything of that sort, which is why leftist politicians have been so keen on no longer bringing that stuff up.
Wow, I didn't really think about it like that. Now that he mentions it, yeah, they kind of just threw away the LGBTQ. I knew that. We've been hearing of that online for a lot of the discourse around woke 1.0, where people were saying, hey, yeah, that was crazy, all the stuff with the bathrooms, a lot of the stuff with the LGBTQ trans rights and stuff like that. You still see a little bit of it there, but I think that transition is probably this video makes perfect sense that transition is happening because they have to go to the more powerful faction. The more powerful faction is going to be the new immigrants. It's going to be Somalian immigrants. It's going to be all these immigrants that have this Muslim background that want to see that represented in politics. The Michigan Muslim voter base. All these people that have a strictly anti-LGBTQ position, and they have more numbers than the LGBTQ crowd. It makes perfect sense that they're probably shifting their overall focus on who to pander to, and that's still a deadly friend to have every time. I'm like, it's deadly for everyone. Like I said, no one's gonna change their value system because they're on American soil. I think for the most part, that's why you have to regulate the amount of immigrants. I'm just a person that studied too much Roman and Greek history, where I'm like, okay, we don't want the Germanic tribes to come back and smash and destroy Rome, and we go back to the Dark Ages. Can we just avoid a collapse of Rome type of situation? But it seems like it's inevitable if you come from that ideological trend of Rome itself, that ideological heritage of Rome, which I think for the most part, USA, America, is coming from that heritage of Rome. So it seems like we have to follow its end as well, unfortunately. But let's go back. Let's start this.
Which is why leftist politicians have been so keen on no longer bringing that stuff up. The modern-day leftist campaign strategy for any place that has a large immigrant population is to simply put a foreigner from their ethnicity as the candidate and just promise all sorts of free stuff paid for by the taxpayer. That way, they get the left-wing vote and the immigrant vote, which is usually able to win any urban election. And all it costs them is having to not bring up the principles they've been championing for half a century. But understand, for many, this was the plan all along. The leftist leaders knew this would happen when they imported the Third World. I find the alternative hard to believe, that some of the most powerful people on the planet were completely ignorant and blindsided by the Third World's values. In truth, there was no culture war in the 2010s. There was a culture feint. While we were too distracted trying to argue what a woman is, or the fact that men shouldn't be competing against them in sports, one of the largest and most consequential demographic changes in history was taking place, and people were too busy seeing it as just one of a myriad of issues. This was a war won without a fight. And notice how naturally the champions of the 2010s wokeness have abandoned their causes, the ease with which they call their former positions crazy. Leftist politicians didn't stop being woke 1.0, they never were. They simply took on the facade that would get them elected and their agenda pushed, because that's what a politician is, and their voters should have been aware. The woke crowd is no longer as relevant as it used to be, and a new demographic of voters have taken over their role as the base of leftist political support. The liberal den was just a useful stepping stone in pursuit of this outcome. Now, his job is done, and his services are no longer required.
It's another great video from Basic Logic.
Hey everybody, I'm Rick Beato. So once again,
I have to give it to him. I think he's right on the money with his point that, I think it was probably a feint. It was a distraction because we were talking about these topics so much, and it kind of distracted us from this demographic change that was happening in society. I remember I did notice it. I did pay attention. I remember asking this question. I was talking with my father about they were letting a bunch of African people into Europe. This has to be like 12 years ago. I was like, why would you do that? I was thinking, because I've been to Africa, I've been to these places. I'm like, why would you let these random people in that don't believe anything that you believe in into the country? My father too was like, yeah, that doesn't seem like a good idea. But we just shrugged it away. We thought it was just going to be like 20,000 people. Now 50 million people later, it's like, oh, okay, that is not 20,000 people. You included a whole continent of people into your space, and I think that is what we're seeing right now, and people are responding to that. They're going, yeah, it was a cultural feint. I think for the most part what we've been seeing with the situation with the LGBTQ rights, and it was a successful feint. It was so hyper focused on. It started with Obama, where it was this hyper focus, gay marriage, all this other stuff, and we were distracted by it for so long. And I think I agree with him. It's probably part of the plan. But what's the greater plan? We're gonna have all these immigration demographics mostly slanted to the Muslim side. I'm like, whose benefit is that for? I don't see the benefit of that. Maybe I do see the benefit. I can see that Russia, China, that's their benefit. If the American empire falls apart, I think I can see that as a beneficiary right there. This may be their scheme. And Russia is known for doing a lot of schemes like this. You saw the Yuri Bezmenov quote right there. Bezmenov, I keep saying his name wrong, but yeah, he had the famous quote about the communist infiltrators from the 1980s, where he mentioned that was the goal of the Soviet Union, is to introduce communism. And I think we see this with Zoran Mamdani, the democratic socialist parties that are now springing out of nowhere. So I can see Russia's hand into all of this. So it makes perfect sense to me if that is the case, where they're moving in this direction because of these outside influences. I don't think China has as much influence as Russia does for this situation. I think Russia probably has had the scheme for like 50 years already. So they've been doing this for a long time. So I think this is part of Russia's plan, probably for the most part, where we're getting this push towards communism, push towards a devolution of our basic moral value system. But it can't just be them. It has to be other people. But it's hard to find out who are these people that are pushing these malevolent forces that are pushing us in this direction. You could say it's the globalists, it's all this and that, but we're just too little of people to know who are the overseers in our lives. Maybe one day we'll be some bigger people out there. We might have some influence. See you later, Skibbity G. It's good to see you. Nice that you dropped by. But yeah, someone has a plan, and it's working, unfortunately for us. I think we're the generation where that plan is supposed to succeed, and I don't want to be part of that generation where the plan succeeds. So hopefully we recover. Hopefully we get someone in power that does the opposite of this. And I think that's what we thought Trump would do, but that is not what we're seeing. We're seeing ourselves slowly walking forward into the abyss, and the abyss is staring back at us, and America is not looking like it's going to be in good shape. But out of that depression, let's talk about some video games again, unfortunately. Unless you have like some other stuff you want to, some other videos I can watch. I'm pretty much done with everything. I don't have any more topics. I was going to talk about what's happening with Naughty Dog. Since it's the header, I'll talk about it quickly. You have Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog is going through some troubles, trials, and tribulations with Sony because Sony's mad. Sony's like, hey, we need a game for this generation and it's not coming out. What are you doing? And I think that's the general sentiment around Naughty Dog, Neil Druckmann, The Last of Us, everything that we've been seeing with this organization. It hasn't been producing anything of quality for the past few years, especially since the failure of The Last of Us 2. And of course, I'm talking about the video game and the TV show. And I think that's the thing that we're hearing about Intergalactic at Naughty Dog. It might actually destroy Naughty Dog as an organization. After years of remaster and the canceled Last of Us Online game, this is supposedly the big swing they've been building towards. One massive original IP known as Intergalactic. And with the release of his trailer and the player response, it's not looking too good. And Neil Druckmann is a person that is in the hot seat. We've been hearing about him actually losing his job. And I think that's probably the best thing to happen to Naughty Dog. Kick out Neil Druckmann, bring in someone that will remaster, remake The Last of Us 2, and continue on like nothing ever happened. Bring back Joel and forget everything else that happened in the series. And I think that is a game that will sell more than the original Last of Us 2. And I think that's the situation people are hoping for with Naughty Dog. You can reverse and change your plans. This is not a movie. This is a video game, and people would actually prefer and be excited to see a change in the story. And I think that is the thing that they're probably afraid of. They think they're making high art with these progressive meanings, when in actuality, you're making a game gamers want to play. And I think that's the thing that sold The Last of Us 2, where it was a fun game. I liked The Last of Us 2 because it was fun to play. I didn't care about the story. The story was terrible. It was garbage. I hated what happened to Joel. The characters weren't that interesting. I might as well skip most of the cutscenes because they were meaningless. That's how bad the story was. And I think if they want a successful game, just change the story. You don't have to stick to these elements like you're a movie that can never change. This is a video game. Change everything if you have to. And I think that is a flexibility that cannot be done by this studio. They don't have this imagination. They just are stuck in the 2010 woke cycle, like we just saw with Basic Logic, where they're just trying to pander to these elements. And it's kind of unfortunate. It seems like since that fate of kind of delving into these kind of LGBTQ non-binary topics, some people are just left in the wind, stuck by these topics. And I think that's what we're seeing happening with a lot of the elements at Naughty Dog, where they're making something that would have been good 10 years ago for their reputation, but now it's just going to end their entire organization. And I think that is what we're seeing with Naughty Dog, where it's stuck in the past while Sony is knocking on their door, calling for them to make something for the future, and they just don't know what to do. Especially Neil Druckmann, because he's kind of messed up his future, and you can see it in his face where he's just like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I made a terrible Last of Us 2. The TV show's terrible. We have an original IP that's gonna be garbage. So that is a tough situation we're seeing with Naughty Dog, and I think they're gonna be in this situation for a while in the future. Even if it has a disc, no, you're right, Agents of Chaos. No one's gonna be buying it. So, it's such a sad state for one of my favorite developers. Remember when Sony exclusives used to mean something? That is what I feel with Naughty Dog. Like, we really took it for granted those times with Naughty Dog where we got these games that were fun, exciting, interesting, and just engaging, that were coming from so much developers. And we wish Sony would buy these developers so they would have more money to produce content. And they did buy them, and now they're making trash. And that is just the state of gaming today, where you can't even release a multiplayer game for The Last of Us, and it was sold heavily. Sony's in such a tough position where they made so much terrible games, they have to cancel some of their games now. And I think that's what we saw with the Naughty Dog Last of Us. That's what we're seeing happening with another game, the Horizon multiplayer game. It has to cancel itself as well. Let me see. Where is that Naughty Dog? It's a Naughty Dog Horizon game that's canceled. Yeah, Bloomberg talks about how Horizon Hunter Gathering is being rebooted due to negative player feedback, which makes sense. That terrible trailer with the fat lady, the diverse DEI cast. Gamers shrug their shoulders, and this is kind of a bright sign for Sony, where Sony's realizing, hey, we actually have to make something good. And I think this is the situation I would hope for Sony, and I think for Sony to look at Naughty Dog and criticize them this way, that is a good sign for gaming. And I think that's all you can hope for in this situation. Yeah, Sony exclusives were must-buys, like God of War, Uncharted, Spider-Man 1 was just crazy. Like, we were like, wow. Horizon, I like the first Horizon game. Even though it had some of that woke elements there, I was like, it still was interesting. I was excited to see where it went. And it's just like all those properties that they built excitement for on the PS4 just turned out to be nothing. They turned out to be farts in the wind that produced nothing for the gaming culture, where it's just like they produced, it just didn't have value for the gaming audience. And I think that's what we see with so much of these titles that used to be exclusives for Sony, where the exclusives don't even matter once they're released on PC. People just shrug their shoulders like, yeah, I played this terrible sequel. I'm not playing it on PC. Let's see. What else do we got here? But yeah, Hunter's Gathering is canceled. Basically, they're gonna do a new game, a co-op game, which I think is probably better suited for that. And they have to really try to impress the studio by December. So we'll see if they can cook up something. They're definitely using AI. I know that. But just looking at the games they produced that came out, the multiplayer games. I don't even know what this game is here. I'm like, what is this game? I never heard of this game. Well, that's another canceled game. I know about Concord Fair games. These games are just the absolute dregs of modern day gaming. A representation of that woke one that we just talked about. And yeah, woke one was crazy. Look at it. Look at what it produced here. These are like woke one era games. Lost in the sauce of woke one, and they came out when woke one just ended. So they came out at the worst time possible. What is that? Oh, new subscriber. Dang, okay, I got that noise. I was like, dang. I got the alarm set up perfectly. I spent an hour trying to get my alarm set up, alerts. So if you donate, if you subscribe, if you become a member, there's going to be a sound. I'm going to try to get maybe a GIF. I'm new to streaming, so I'm going to learn these things. I'm going to change the overall layout eventually. This is just the first layout I had. That's why it's all purple. I got this weird purple night layout. I don't know if people like that. I'm going to change it to something a little more simpler. It's just a little too colorful, at least for me. But, alright, that's it for this here. I'm going to talk about this later. Just the failure of Sony is just staggering. And they're always being saved by Chinese games. And Chinese games have been the saving grace of Sony, along with Korean games. That's what we saw with Stellar Blade. That's what we saw with Black Myth Wukong, and that's what we're seeing with a new game, Black Myth Zongqi, which is coming out, I think, exclusively on the PlayStation and PC, but it's not going to be on Xbox, so that is a benefit right there for this game developer. And this is a game I've been looking forward to. I loved Black Myth Wukong. You see the Black Myth Wukong poster. Even went to China, specifically got a Black Myth Wukong poster before it even came out. So that's why I always had this early. But this is a game I'm looking forward to, and it kind of, you can see the care that is going to these games because China sees this as a cultural representation of themselves. So it's I know a lot of people expect fan service, but some countries don't want fan service. I think China does have that to a certain degree, but the government cracks down, so we just can't expect anything from them in that way. But I'm hyped for this. The first Black Myth Wukong game was fun. It was engaging. Was kind of like a peak Souls like sort of game, and I just like the story, the creativity, the art. You really could tell the person that designed it went all out. They loved those aspects of their culture, and they exemplified it in such a way. And I think that's what you even see in this trailer. I'm seeing things. I'm like, what is this craziness? But let's watch a bit. Let's watch a bit. I haven't seen this whole trailer, but let's just watch a little bit. He's traveling with his old man. Alright, I already kind of like the feel. It's definitely different from Black Myth Wukong. Yeah, they got some AI generation. You're probably right there. Dude Guy Bro Man, I like that name. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, China's not holding back. They have AI assistant everywhere. They're not holding back. They don't care if you complain. They got 40 million people that are gonna buy the game in China. And they're gonna be producing sequels quicker too. Like this came out like 2 years after Black Myth Wukong. Pure AI. See the combat. Alright, it's got slight different movements. It's got a more fancy style. Oh, I can tell this is probably gonna be pretty hard. It's definitely gonna be Souls-like. Oh, I like that push, that run and push with the staff. It's a little, I like the heaviness of this. Oh! Oh! Damn, I'm so into the combat. I'm just like, oh. I have to say I like the heaviness of the combat. And unlike the Wolverine game, you see where you can make mistakes here and get completely killed. Whoa. I think you're right. One foot out the door. This game just looks cool. Oh! Oh, you got shooting arrows. Whew. This just feels way more grounded than Wukong. Wukong felt like you can fly anywhere. This feels like you're stuck to the ground. You better survive. Hey, this is not like Wolverine though, Agents of Chaos. I could barely see the skin. If this was Wolverine, we'd see some red fart gas coming out of the skin. So foggy, see? I didn't even notice the skin was there. That's perfect. I doubt the skin is gonna be there for the whole time, dude. I think it's a sequel, but it's a different story. Dude, guy, bro, man, it's a different story. They're gonna have different stories for each new Black Myth game. Different story, different main character, and same dev team too. Yeah. I like the variety in enemies. There's a lot of good stories in Chinese mythology, so they can keep up this series for a long time. Ah, I'm excited for this game, dang. This looks good, Oh, they didn't have that in Beast of Reincarnation? Dang. I heard a lot of complaints about that game, Beast of Reincarnation. You can't expect anything from a Pokemon developer. This is definitely gonna have some upgrades. I mean, Black Myth Wukong had it. Ah! What the heck? You got clam angels? Woo! If it was an underwater battle, that would have been crazy. But it's still crazy. It's like the crazy designs they have for some of these creatures. Ooh! Ah! Man, I love this combat. It seems more deliberate and just you have to take care of how you're pressing each button and attacking. I told you those clam wings were holding you down. This is the surface. So I took them off. I'm ready. Whoa! ice block. I think they're gonna do it. You're gonna have some sea battles, I think. Oh! Got that avatar. Is it gonna be a co-op? Nah, that looks like the avatar or something. It's like, what the heck? You're cheating, man. You call for help. It's supposed to be one-on-one. Ah, he's coming after you, so I don't care about the other guy. So help, other guy, help. So I nope, you're on your own. Oh, Paper Man. So, man, what type of fight? You got 3 people fighting me. You got Paper Man, you got Shadow Man. Yeah, he was a Demon King, yeah. Oh, so it's a demon he summoned. Okay, you're gonna have to. That's gonna be pretty cool. You can summon demons. Probably some of the bosses you kill, you probably can make them summons as well. So it has some of the Black Myth Wukong elements there. Oh, you can go in the soul of the demon. Nice. Finally got him. That's similar to the system we saw in Black Myth Wukong, where you can take control of these spirits. Just wonder who she is. Oh dang, she wants her piece of the action. Cooking. Oh, he's cooking someone? Is that someone in there? What the heck? I think we'll get some nice stories again. What the heck? That looks crazy. That's like the crazy monsters designs they have for it. This fighting is crazy. Hey, game science is the king right now, and it doesn't look like they're gonna be dethroned. Oh, here's the Tiger Man. Nice. Game Science is getting there to be one of the top developers. I have to say they're producing content that is just really interesting and fun to play. I can see the gamer in the design of the game, even though they may be using AI assistance. I can feel the gamer that's making and plotting out how you fight and parry and how you do everything. You don't see that in other games. You don't see that in Wolverine. Wolverine doesn't look like a game that was made by gamers. It feels like a game that was made for a journalistic class to play and enjoy. And I think that's the thing we keep seeing. Seeing with so much of the modern day Western AAA developers, where they're making content that is just simply not with any gaming intent in mind. And that's why you look at this battle scene, the Sentinel scene, everyone just looks at it like, who made this? This game, this boss fight was made on easy mode. The person that didn't want to do too much in the development process, that didn't care about the game they were making or how complex or fun it would be. They were just making something, so they just finish it and go home. And I think that's the current state of Western gaming, making something so you can finish it and go home. And I think that's not what we're seeing with Black Myth Wukong. We're seeing someone making a full, complete game with the intention of having these kind of structures where you're figuring out how to beat different bosses. You're trying to different strategies. That is a video game. A video game is a puzzle. And if you have a fighting combat or jumping and platforming, you're figuring a way out of the situation that you're in. And I think that's what I like about Black Myth Wukong, what it's doing, or Black Myth Zonkui. I keep messing up the name. But that's what I like about this game, where it just feels like it's made by a gamer for the gaming audience, and it's hard to not see that from the developer, because it just does everything it wants to do in kind of that. And I love the addition of Chinese culture as well. It has so much interesting and fun creatures and positions where it's just you're not familiar with, because it's not American culture, it's not European culture, it has its own traditions, and it kind of takes you into their world. And I think this is the thing that a lot of the modern day woke and DEI progressive people simply don't understand. People having other cultures lets them build something unique to that culture, and that's what people loved about Japanese video games. It had Japanese culture in it, and that's what we love about Korean games. It has Korean oriented specific cultural additions, and that's what people loved about American video games. It had American concepts included. You see this with Clair Obscur, a French game. It had French ideas and cultural icons respected and put into place. And I think that's what I like about seeing this game from China, where it's Chinese, it's made with Chinese people in mind, and we can come in and enjoy it because it's still made by a gamer. And being a gamer is universal, and you see that pop out with Black Myth Zonkui, and I really love that about this game. All right, I'm gonna get it. That's my most hyped game of the year. I know people are still hyping up GTA. I feel like GTA is gonna be one of those games that's out there to make money for the most part, and I have no problem with that. But it's made in the Western audience mold of the past 15 years, and that was Woke 1.0. It was developed during that time. It's definitely gonna have those elements. They're probably gonna take out some things here or there, but for the most part, it's not going to be that sort of game that we remember. Hopefully, it's still good and playable. That's what I'm hoping for, at least. They don't take some elements that we love about it. But it's not going to be like this, where you have that pure construct where you're trying to solve something about the game that you're playing. You're trying to defeat a boss, an enemy, figure out a puzzle. And I think that's what I like about this game, where the combat is a puzzle and it's there for you to figure out. And I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most about the games like this that are coming out. And this is probably my top game. I'm just a Black Myth Wukong fan. Don't hate on me about it. I just love it. I know people like Elden Ring, all these other Soul games. I did play a lot of these other Soul games, but I just like this. It felt like the culture felt more interesting to me. Plus, I just always was interested in Chinese and Japanese culture for the most part, so that's why it grabbed my attention for the most part. So that's just my preference. That's what I'm hyping up. That's what I love so far. I'm really looking forward to this game. Yeah, GTA 6. It has a strong possibility of becoming like Saints Row, so that's my expectation. But down to our final video of the day. Let's watch this. People are making jokes out there. Maybe I should save this later. All right, let's talk about the Lindsay Clancy case. Let's go over this first. It's back to the situation we saw with Woke 1.0. That basic logic video was really prescient and really made sense, because I was going to talk about this situation with the Lindsay Clancy case, where we have this case of extremism that is going out of whack, and people are looking at men saying, hey, why are you so extreme? And it's just kind of the opposite thing is being exemplified here, especially with this Lindsay Clancy case. If you don't know about this Lindsay Clancy case, let me get a picture of her. It's about a mom that I can't probably say this on YouTube, but her 3 children, she took them out. She X'd them out of existence in life, and a lot of people are having sympathy for her. And I think that's the situation a lot of people are looking at right now, and they're wondering, okay, well, what's wrong? She's going to go to jail, right? She's an evil person. We should be rooting for her going to jail, right? That's what's happening, right? That's what likely is going to happen, but people online and across the internet are fangirling over this child killer. And I think that is the thing that a lot of people have frustration with. Like, what people are fangirling over someone that's taking out their own children? And that is the thing, that was my general reaction. But once you see the people that are absolutely in support of this mother of taking out her own children and in the worst way possible, strangling each one for 4 to 5 minutes, you start understanding, okay, what's happening in society today is beyond redemption right now, because we have utter extremists right now, and she's getting the support of people online, fundraising over $1 million based on her taking out her own children. And I think this is a crazy story I saw happen. I just have to go over it. It's just showing, it goes in line with what we've been seeing from the Woke 1.0 and the results of this and the side effects. We see it in gaming. People are still making terrible games. But I think a lot of the effects that we saw from these past 10 years of extremism is just bearing out in extreme situations like this, where we have people celebrating a mother that took out her own children and even trying to blame the father for it. But let's see what people are saying online and watch this video.
He got rid of all of theirs.
Yeah, they're blaming the father for the death of the children, and not the person that actually did it, the mother. And that is what we're seeing, the crazy reactions online of people saying, no, it cannot be the mother, it has to be him because men are evil. And I think that is the astonishment a lot of people are having with this case.
Stop. She doesn't have anything. But you guys, I can't. I can't. Like, she can't pet their lovies. It's so upsetting. And I just...
So she's mad at the father for getting rid of the children's toys after the mother put to death the children. And that is her argument against the father. Like, he's so evil. He threw away all the toys. I'm like, hey, this girl just killed the kids. What are you talking about? And this is the support that we're seeing widespread of people that are coming out. You see her at her trial where people came out in droves, hundreds of people celebrating her. And this is kind of the crack. And this is kind of the crack situation of the world today, where people are just celebrating people that are the complete degenerates of society. Let's see what the protesters or supporters of Lindsay Clancy have to say.
The system failed her. She was begging for help, but no one was there. I don't know if us being here will make her feel any better, but I mean, she's living in hell right now.
Just wanted to support Lindsay and just say it could be, one of my sister-in-laws, it could be one of my best friends, and it could be me. So just here to support.
What? It could be you? Then go to jail. You're losing your mind. What's going on here?
It could be one of my best friends, and it could be me. So just here to support.
We are hearing her. We see that she tried everything. And I really do believe that she went into a state of psychosis.
Clancy's supporters call her attorney Kevin Reddington a champion of women's rights.
Whoa.
Is she aware of this support, and what does she think of this support?
I'm going to go in and see her right now. I'm sure that she is, and if she isn't, she will be.
What do you think about?
She's so beat up and just so sad. This will really help her out, I think. So.
Even this lawyer is like, okay, yes. He's like, what's happening here?
Tell her we love her.
The crowd of about 200 to 300 people lined the road as Lindsay Clancy was brought into the courthouse.
I hope when this is all over,
of course, the dog mom.
Medical field gets, held responsible for some of this, because she tried. She tried desperately to get.
Yeah, I think you're right, dude, guy, bro, man. It feels like a campaign happening. How this became so popular all of a sudden, because this is a case from like 3 or 4 years ago. So all of a sudden this week I seeing it pumped out everywhere online and people coming up with theories. I'm like, this seems like a campaign, and maybe distracting us from wars, maybe distracting us from other things that are happening in society, maybe even just out there trying to stoke, like you said, the manosphere. They're trying to divide men and women. We see this happening all the time. We saw that something happened with Russia was promoting like Black Lives Matter, KKK to protest in the same location. So you have these outside actors that are fanning the flames of these cultural wars as well. So that is a possibility.
Help, and it wasn't there, whether she's guilty.
But regardless, people are believing this stuff, and that's the thing you can't ignore. You have crazy people that are cracked out of their mind. And a lot of people are saying these people get to vote, and that is leading to a lot of campaigns of people saying repeal the 19th. That might be a little too far, but a lot of people are getting negative connotations with women because of this, and it is a state of society. This has me looking at the world today. I'm like, man, we are so doomed if this is the reality that we're living in right now.
Innocent. It doesn't really matter.
This is the person that wants unlimited immigration. They want unlimited immigration of people that don't believe anything that you believe in, that feel like it's okay to abuse children or women or anything else. They want to be empathetic to the criminal class of people all across the world, and it just makes you see reflected back on you with this video. It's just indescribable. Like, what? This is reality, and this is not something you can say is on the internet. You even have famous voices. I think even like Candace Owens, people coming out with this idiotic statement that we have to feel sympathy for the murderous class. That is just the crazy state of society. Let's see what she says.
If you would like to unfollow me because I think a child murderer deserves to go to prison because she murdered her children, go ahead, leave. Because fundamentally, we are never going to get along if we can't even agree that killing a child is wrong. Apparently, we need a freaking reminder that women are perfectly capable of hurting and killing their own children. So why don't we go ahead and count them? Number 1, we have Melissa Campos Sanchez, Miami, August 2026. Police say that she poured hot candle wax onto her 3-year-old and 6-year-old daughters. She then lit clothes on fire in the kitchen and danced around.
Yeah, we're having copycats already. And that's what makes me think, oh, this could be a mass psychosis event where we're going to have a lot of women start doing this, and women unfortunately follow trends. And I think this is the thing that's why I say this could be something that is being perpetuated online artificially. And I think that might be the case to get this mass psychosis. Like we saw with that Basic Logic video, there are manipulators out there that could do that. For whatever reason, I don't know. For what reason, I don't know. But we're seeing it happening right now.
Until the 6-year-old had to try to put the fire out. Number 2, Kaylee Earhart, North Dakota, August 2026. 3 young children were stabbed. Her 3-year-old and 5-month-old died, and her 1-year-old survived. And she told their father that, say goodbye to your kids before she did it. Number 3, Haley Dempsey, Florida, May 2026. She killed her own mother, then she killed her 4-year-old daughter and her 4-month-old daughter. She then allegedly tried to shoot her 2-year-old, missed, and then killed herself. Number 4.
Yeah, you're right, Benjamin Altman. This is gonna cause so much copycats that people really don't understand. This may even start a movement. And I think that's the scary thing. Like, what is happening to society? And I think we don't even know what we're in store for in the future.
Marlene Vidal, Texas, May 2026. Her 5-year-old son...
But I already felt that with the Carmelo Anthony case. That's when I felt like we passed a threshold. Even Charlie Kirk as well. That was probably the ultimate one, when people were dancing about that. But I think with Carmelo Anthony, I was like, it's so clear case, and people just made up fantasies and lies, and it became a race war. I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? This guy needs to be thrown in prison or go to for life or something. But it's just we're in this kind of state of a state of chaos that is being built up for something I don't know what it's for eventually. So it's just hard to say.
And 6-year-old daughters were killed with sharp force injuries, and their bodies were found inside a burning car. Number 5, Sarah Myers and Amy Stedman, New York, June 2026. A mother and a grandmother are accused of murdering 4 children.
Whoa, mother and grandmother, what the heck?
13, 11, and 10-year-old twins. Drugs were used and 1 child was stabbed. And investigators say that the planning appeared aimed at keeping those children away from their father.
Oh, yeah,
Number
that
6,
happens, yeah.
Mackenzie Critton, Wisconsin, July 2026. Charged with smothering her 7-month-old baby to death. That is 6 cases in 2026. And it's only freaking August. And while all of that is happening, women are sitting on the internet holding their babies and crying into the camera and saying, same, Lindsay. Oh my goodness, same. And that's where I snapped. And apparently saying that maybe we shouldn't be identifying with that while we're holding our own babies is controversial now. I have more numbers for you. Federal child maltreatment fatalities in 2024. Mothers acting alone, 31.8%. Fathers acting alone, 13.7%. Non-fatal abuse and neglect, mothers alone, 37%. Fathers, 25%. Newborns killed within the first day of life, almost always the mother. Or should we talk about the over 1 million abortions every single year? So spare me this little fairy tale that y'all have come up with in La La Land over here, that somehow women are incapable of being danger to children. We are more of a danger to our children than their fathers are in most cases. But women will search the entire freaking zip code for somebody to blame other than say, yeah, she did it. And that is why this whole same Lindsay trend thing has me genuinely concerned. And if me saying all of this makes you uncomfortable, well, you can stay uncomfortable, because I am done prioritizing grown
that is shocking,
over
Benjamin
dead
Altman.
and
Some of
children.
these cases.
And I'm damn sure done pretending the person who killed the child is somehow the biggest victim in the room. The children are the victims, not their murderers. This was fun. You women are psychos. Have a day.
And for her to have to state that obvious fact that the victims are the children is just the most depressing part of this video. At least we have one sensible woman out there. But that is, this is a scary situation, I think, where we're going. Whether this is natural or artificial, wherever we're going into a dark path right now. And I don't want to see that result. And a lot of people are going to say it's probably down to these past cultures. People are going to say that our hookup culture A lot of women are interacting with so much different guys, where once they do settle down and get married, there's a bit of disappointment in the life that you have. And I think that's one excuse I saw happen. I think that's probably one explanation. You have a culture like that, and you have Instagram culture, and people really feel like they've lost everything by having a kid, and they go to extremes. I think that's what people say. I think that's when postpartum started becoming a popular thing. Like in the 1990s, it became a psychological classified item under those guidelines. And I think it probably started up since the 70s cultures, where we had to actually identify it as something. Maybe it happened in the past during other cultures. Women didn't have enough rights, so we never knew about it. But it's easy to say that, hey, that's probably something that started occurring more recently, because survival is not the top priority for a lot of people. But we have a lot of extremist people here, and shockingly, those extremist people are women. So that is the crazy part that we're seeing. I think it's just a sad case. And I had to go over it because it's so shocking, and seeing those numbers really just opens your eyes, and you just can see like, whoa, we're going down a dark path. Yeah, I know. It just feels like this is maybe artificially pushed, but it's just, why? I don't know. But let's end this on a light note. We don't want to end this in a sad note. Let's talk about some AI potential games coming out of India. I'm talking about the Indian AI simulator. And this is just a funny thing. Just lighten up the mood. I'm about to end my stream. We went through that dark topic. I feel depressed. But India kind of makes me happy. And I think, surprisingly, this India simulator coming from China is making all the right people angry and making all the right people laugh. And it's making me laugh. So let's just watch it. Let's lighten our load a little bit. And I'll sign off soon after. Let's go. India speaking Chinese. Oh my gosh. That just makes my stomach churn just watching this. Oh my god. Oh, we got the hair flip back.
我要一些浓浓的汁儿，再浇上浓浓的汁儿。哦，这得花不少钱，先生。我知道，快去借点零钱。越多越好。
China should make this game.
不像有钱人。
Only China can make this game.
一名行为诡异的百万富翁，竟然侮辱美食。
Hey, this looks like a Black Myth Wukong fight here. Yo, where the crocodile head? Yes, exactly. Benjamin Altman.
老板，客人要的浓浓的汁儿，浇上浓浓的汁儿。泔水桶在外面。哦，不，先生，我是说浓浓的汁儿已经给您打包好了。干！
I need to play this game. I want to play it. I like that dancing there.
It's time to jump.
All right. That is a game I want to play. Actually, I'm begging China to make this game. Only they can make it. Western game companies can't make it. Japanese, Korean, they can't make it. Europe can't make it. Only China can make this game, and that's the only way we will be able to play a game like this. Or maybe we might get some indie developers that might actually work on it. But I want to play this game. I think they could make something actually unique and fun. This is just hilarious. If it came out, this would be one of the biggest games on Steam. This will have 1 million people playing, and half of that will be from India. People from India will be playing this game. They'll be complaining about this game, and they'll be playing it. This is the roots of gaming that we need to see brought back, where people are making these stupendously offensive games, and we as gamers are just enjoying it in our little corner of the world. But yeah, that's it for today so far. This was a good stream. I love the conversations we had today. This is a nice way to end the stream. We had a lot of depressing stuff we were talking about, but ultimately, I think we ended on a good note here. I like this India simulator. India is lightening the mood, and I have to thank them for that. The world is a depressing and awful place right now, but India gave me some hope. At least a video game based in India. So, this scene just makes me want to vomit. I actually seen that river. I'm like, I never want to go near that place. That is disgusting. But yeah, we need to lighten the mood. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the stream today. I enjoyed the stream today. We actually made it to 2 hours and 30 minutes. I never thought I would make it 1 hour when I started streaming, but now I'm comfortably making it to 2 hours and 30 minutes. Hopefully in the future, I think I can make it to 3 hours. I think 3 hours is a nice cutoff point. I want to reach that eventually, but we could do it now. But unfortunately, I have people yelling out my name right now saying I need to get out of here. So I'm going to get out. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this stream. I think in the past, we would have games like this that they would have came out. Maybe not, but who cares? We don't need to go to the past. We can go to the future. In the future are crazy, disrespectful Indian games that we can play and enjoy, and I think that's a future I would enjoy. So, I heard there was like a Nigerian one, so this is an equal opportunity offender here. So, but thank you guys for watching this stream. Thank you Ages of Chaos, Benjamin Altman for always dropping by. Thank you to the new faces, Do Guy, Bro Man. You added a lot to the conversation here. Always love Human User 1 and many other people that joined in the chat. There's a lot of people I have to look up, but thank you guys for watching. Thank you to all the new faces that are not saying anything, that are just watching in the background. I appreciate you for commenting and just including yourself in the chat. It's just been fun talking to a lot of these people here. Not Found 625 Tuwani, thank you for joining. Everyone, you always make it easier to actually just chill on a Friday after a long week. So it's just a nice chill day for me. I love it. This is probably my favorite time of the week. Thank you guys for making this a great experience, and I can't wait until next week. We're gonna have a lot more to talk about, hopefully. Thank you for catching me live finally. This is a nice cozy experience, and hopefully you guys enjoy this. So I'm going to be back here next week, and hopefully we have some more stuff to talk about. I know we're going to have the GTA Netflix, so that's going to be coming out next week. So we already have that. It's going to be fun. Catch you guys next time, and see you then.